This story is crazy.
It is.
He says he was stabbed in the back, and that's no figure of speech.
I was backing up. She was yelling.
She says she was beaten over the head and nearly strangled to death.
If I don't play dead, I'm gonna die.
Two very different tales, but they're talking about the same attack.
When you see a knife in a person's back, you start to say to yourself,
It's the twisted real-life version of Hollywood's War of the Roses.
I just want to smash your face in.
He's a narcissist. He's a sociopath.
I think she was obsessed.
This seems rational to you both?
The outrageous end of a marriage and the divorce from sanity that came after.
Do you feel that we have heard the truth about what happened that day?
I guess it depends on what you've heard.
It's always rose-colored glasses in the beginning. Leigh and Brock Orwig know that now.
So tell me about how you met.
I was at the University of Michigan, and I thought she was terrific. Smart and pretty, and I mean, I just thought she was just awesome.
And Leigh must have thought something similar, though she's less open to talking about it now.
He says that when he saw you, he just thought you were the most beautiful thing ever.
That's nice. When I first saw him, there was a part of me that just said, I knew we would be together.
The two went on to date nearly 10 years before finally tying the knot. Boy, have things changed since then.
At what point do you believe that the marriage started to unravel?
Probably right before we had our daughter.
It was roughly 4 years after they got married.
My daughter, or our daughter, was born with some special needs. She had some significant neurological issues.
Issues Leigh says she mostly had to deal with on her own due to Brock's work schedule.
He was gone 99% of the time, and that was very difficult.
But Brock says that's not why their marriage fell apart.
I realized that Leigh's drinking was impacting her ability to care for our daughter.
An accusation Leigh vehemently denies. Either way,
Who initiated the divorce?
Brock did.
Were you surprised?
Yeah, I was playing soccer, and I was approached by a stranger on the soccer field that served me with divorce papers in front of the entire team.
and if you thought things sounded ugly before,
Since the day the divorce started, it's just been the never-ending war.
to be more specific, Leigh says that in the years after their divorce, Brock has waged a nasty smear campaign painting her as an alcoholic who can't take care of their child. But then, Brock says Leigh's the one who went on the warpath.
Leigh made all sorts of allegations about me, that I had beat her. I heard allegations that I had been beating our daughter. And obviously, none of those were true.
True or not, over the course of at least 7 years, Leigh and Brock Orwig would find themselves facing off in family court more than once.
That's a long time to be butting heads with someone.
It is.
Brock tells us Leigh was eventually awarded sole custody of their daughter while he was ordered to pay child support plus alimony. Leigh tells us Brock filed for bankruptcy and that she's seen little of that money. And that's basically where things stood between the Orwigs in the weeks before the morning of November 6th.
We'll call it the event. So leading up to the event of November 6th, Leigh and I had very little contact. It was infrequent at best.
On that, Leigh and Brock agree. Everything after?
Brock refers to that day as the day of the event.
How convenient for him.
First, what Leigh says happened.
I had gotten her out to the bus, got her on the bus. I went back inside and started typing an email on my computer. I was not even halfway through the email when I felt something hit my head.
Leigh says that in the split second that followed, she was stunned.
That was when I got up and I turned around and I looked behind me, and here's this guy wearing a dark knit cap with a blonde wig, dark clothing, with his arm raised up, and he was about to strike my head again.
A complete stranger, as far as she knew.
I don't know if he had a nylon covering his face or not. I just remember seeing a big smile on the face, and his nose looked flat. I had no idea who this was.
And she says there was no time to figure it out. That the man hit her head at least 15 more times with what was later found to be a 2x4 in a tube sock.
He dropped the weapon at one point in time, but then he started to go for my throat. And it got to the point where I knew that I just couldn't fight him off anymore.
In that instant, Leigh says she decided the only way to stay alive was to play dead.
I'd have to hold my breath.
And she says it seemed to work. According to Leigh, the assailant loosened his grip and left her on the floor, before eventually coming back to tie up her arms and legs with rope. Leigh says next, the man stuffed pills in her mouth, then wrapped her head with a towel and poured what she believes was alcohol down her throat.
It kind of tasted like vodka.
But that's where I had to stop her. Why would her attacker go to all that effort if he thought she was already dead?
What do you believe was the purpose of putting pills and maybe vodka in your mouth down your throat?
That was his third way of trying to kill me, if I wasn't already dead.
She says thankfully she was able to spit out the pills when the man wasn't looking, but that he still wasn't done.
I could hear him in my knife drawer, and then I thought, oh my God, I'm totally dead. This is it. He's gonna stab me to death.
But as she braced for that end, she says the man suddenly untied her arms, grabbed her left hand, and put the tips of her fingers on the knife handle.
Then he did the same thing with my right hand. At that point in time, he put a blindfold over me. I could hear him grab my keys, and finally, he exited.
That's when Leigh says, with her legs still tied, she jumped up, locked the door, and stumbled to her phone.
I need someone over here right now. I've just been attacked and tried to kill me.
Okay, who tried to kill you?
I don't know, some guy.
I didn't know where he was. I could see that the small door to the garage was open a little bit, and that's when I told the police.
I'm trying to keep the door locked. He's in my garage right now.
Okay. You don't know?
I'm very scared.
Then Leigh says, as she talked to the dispatcher,
I heard the screen door to the side door open.
And somebody just tried to come back in my side door. Please send someone right now.
police arrive shortly after that and find a badly beaten Leigh Orwig covered in blood. And that wasn't all. In the detached garage, detectives find something she definitely did not mention on that call. Her ex-husband, Brock Orwig, face down on the concrete, a butcher knife sticking out of his back.
I said, huh?
Brock tells an entirely different story.
I know.
Coming up,
I felt this pain in my back. I couldn't breathe.
in his first ever TV interview, Leigh's ex claims everything you just heard is a lie. And
How could you not have recognized your husband?
Ex-husband.
what the evidence shows.
It was literally what I would call a murder to-do list.
She just stated that she didn't know what else to do, so she picked up a knife from the kitchen and had stabbed her boyfriend.